His fastest time of the weekend this morning, a further 0.2 of a second quicker than he's done all weekend.
Yeah, I spoke to Fogarty Jones. He just needs to stop on the bike. They're not expecting anything from him except him to bring the bike home in one piece, which is was a bit of a struggle for him at Doha. Yeah, I think he had 4 crashes that weekend. Just trying too hard. He's you know, it's difficult to be told as a rider, especially a young rider, that you can't try hard. Just go out there, bring the bike home, and that's exactly what they're telling him. And if he does that mid-season, he'll learn what the bike does, and he'll be able to start trying a little bit, and he'll be able to do it safely then.
Another look at the starting grid. Look at that, Ducati alongside Suzuki, Honda and Foggy Petronas. Second row of the grid, Honda, Yamaha. This is a great setup, isn't it, for a race to come? And then we've got Ducati, Kawasaki, Honda and Suzuki on row 3. How spectacularly spread out is this? 2 Kawasaki's, a Honda and a Ducati on row 4.
Yeah, and I know I keep saying it, Jack, but this is the idea. Superbike's going back years. It's exactly what it was meant to be like. Real competitive, and all the manufacturers are able to get a competitive bike out there, and this is exactly what Superbikes were meant to be.
Since 1990, sorry, when it replaced Oran Park near Sydney, which had run the opening 2 years of World Superbikes in 88 and 89. We've had 29 World Superbike races here. We lost one to rain, of course, if you remember. And 6 times.
I remember, yeah. You're saying if you remember, yeah, I certainly remember the one we lost to rain, because I'd just been out racing a 600 that day, and it was really bad. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. It really did hold the water, but it did let go. It was a really heavy rain.
We've had 29 races, 6 times between 1995 and 2005. We've seen victories for Troy Corser, 4 pole positions, and 10 podiums, and a total of 283 points he's earned here. The question is, can he get the better of Troy Bayliss and add to that amazing haul and go past the 300 mark? Aussies have won 19 of those 29 races. The last non-Aussie was Regis Laconi, race 1, 2004. Can James Toseland, there, right underneath the red flag, change all that? Troy Bayliss on pole position then for round 2 of the World Superbike Championship. Alongside him, Troy Corser, James Toseland, the man who Carl Fogarty says must get a good start so that he can run with the leaders rather than get bogged down mid-pack, and that is Steve Martin on the left-hand side in that distinctive turquoise of Foggy Petronas. So nearly won 2 years ago. His bike expired on the penultimate lap when he was in the lead. He deserves a result. The lights change. Oh, and this time Bayliss gets a cracking start. Unlike Doha a week ago, Bayliss lights up the Xerox Ducati and leads down the hill into Doones.
And Arga's away in 4th. That's just the start that Arga wanted from the second row, on the outside, the right-hand side of the second row.
Bayliss said that his biggest problem a week ago was that he wasn't able to settle into any rhythm. He was unsettled by being in amongst the other riders. He certainly hasn't got that problem now as he goes round the southern loop. But look at Toseland. Toseland rattles through into second place round the outside there. He just cuts through and leaves Troy Corser trailing in 3rd. So can Toseland set his sights on Bayliss? And Haga's right in there as well ahead of Andrew Pitt.
Yeah, Toseland, he's made a good start. He's got away with him, which he didn't do in Qatar.
And Walker, the stalker start as well. Look at Walker, yeah. He's right there with the Yamahas.
That's just where he needed to be as well. He needed that stalker start if ever he did.
And Norik Arbe, Fabian Foren, Max Neukirchner have also made great starts downfield. Clementi's gone backwards, and Jones has made up a couple of places already. Up over Lukey Heights. First lap out of 22, slightly cooler conditions. The weather has been absolutely fierce all weekend.
Stalker completely sideways into MG.
Now, we saw that banner just before the off. Oh, weaving, bucking James Toseland that said Baylistic. And Troy's certainly threatening to be that. Look at the gap that he's pulled on the first lap. So the Xerox Ducati of a man who's not unaccustomed to winning here. Troy Bayliss goes through in the lead by 0.8 of a second over James Toseland in second for Tenkate Honda.
And this is the best start we've seen from Barras as well.
Alex Barras has gone through in 6th place. He's just snook ahead of Chris Walker. And Stalker, in fact, there is Barras, number 4. The Claffey Honda, of course, they know, Team Claffey know that they're good round here because Max Neukirchner got his first and only podium here with a 3rd place last year. Nori Haga very, very wide and deep into the Honda hairpin. And the sunshine's coming out, it's looking lovely. Look at this, this is Andrew Pitt with being pestered by Chris Walker and Carl Muggeridge. And right behind Muggers we've got, I think it might be Robbie Rolfo.
I think it is Robbie Rolfo, yeah.
On the SC Karaki Ducati. 2 laps out of 22, and Bayliss looks to be establishing some dominance here while the battle is waged right behind him between the 2 guys who are tied 2 points behind him in the championship. Oh, Toseland sideways on as they go down into MG corner.
And Corsa's going to be getting frustrated. If he thinks he can stay with Bayliss, the only chance he's got is getting past Toseland now. He needs to be doing it now.
Remember that lap this morning that Bayliss set was a really scalding one, the fastest one ever seen around here in World Supers. Well, he said that he wasn't entirely satisfied with his efforts in Superpole yesterday, even though they were good enough for pole position.
And the man on the move here,
it's Barras.
Bayliss, it's Barras, yeah.
Alex Barras on a track he knows well, of course. And so too Robbie Rolfo, having competed here in motorcycle, well, in MotoGP, and also, of course, Robbie Rolfo, a former runner-up in the 250cc World Championships. And you know, Steve Martin didn't get that, I've just realised, didn't get that start that Foggy was hoping he would. You could just see him in the background there, back in 12th place behind Laconi and Keeley, ahead of Fabian Foray and Kageyama. And Fabian Foray in the 3rd of the Alstara Corona, the Alstara Engineering Suzuki, running strongly in 13th place. After 2 DNFs with he had sensor problems in the first race last weekend and electronic problems in the second. They're certainly well bunched up behind James Toseland in his second.
Yeah, they are, and Bayliss is doing exactly what he said he could do last weekend. If he got away and got into a rhythm and didn't get held up by anybody and saw a bit of clear track, he said he thought he could do some quicker times, and this is proving to be the case.
And he's set a lap of 1:32.4 seconds at the moment, Troy Bayliss. So he's already setting the sort of lap times that the other guys just might struggle to match. Toseland goes past though, second and pulling out a little gap. The Winston Tenkate Honda that he's so happy with, not lacking anything in speed as Haga goes underneath and through Doohan. Haga slings the Yamaha underneath a surprise Troy Corsa into second place.
The problem is there's no way back there either, because the track then turns immediately left round Southern Loop. So there's nothing Corsa could do about that.
And this is boiling up into a terrific battle for second place. While Bayliss tries to make the race his own, it's a 4-way battle for second. One thing that Alex Barras, it must be interesting for him, is that he's racing against guys that he hasn't particularly raced against before, so it's fairly new territory for him in terms of opposition, as Carl Muggeridge sides his way through underneath Chris Walker there and is through into 6th place. Oh, and Steve Martin getting a big out of the saddle moment on the FP1.
I think Haga's fancying his chances here. We know what happened last time he did that.
So watch it, James, because right there is where Barras very neatly cuts underneath Troy Corsa.
Barris's bike looks nice. The old livery of Barras and his leathers, I like that.
And remember the kind of silver projectile of last year. They looked good with Neukirchner and Killy last year as well.
Yeah, they do put a good bike out there.
But the former world sidecar champion, of course, Klaus Klaffenbach, he always produced a beautiful looking outfit in his racing days. And look how quick that Suzuki is out of the draft of the 2 of them and straight back through to 3rd.
Yeah, we said last weekend that the Suzuki looked really, really fast. There was nothing Bayliss could do about it in the last race at Qatar there, and you just saw how quick it was then.
And Bayliss had an amazing lead of 2.848 seconds at the end of the last lap. So he's already putting himself virtually out of sight of Toseland. But Toseland is just hanging on smartly to this second place. And once again, we're back to the original order with Corsa, Haga and number 4, Alex Barros behind him. "15 out of 29 fastest laps set by Australian riders over the years here, and Troy Bayliss has already put one of those in with that 32.4 second lap on his second lap. Yeah, look at the way the gap's climbing.
This circuit is always one that always seems to favour home talent. Some places you go in the world, you can bet it's going to be the usual suspects, and I suppose it is in some ways, but here has favoured the Australian riders over the years.
Look at this. This is a terrific snarl up going on. Kageyama's on the back up, just behind Steve Martin, and Walker's right in the mix, just ahead of Robbie Rolfo and right behind Carl Muggeridge. So Walker looks as if he's beginning to enjoy himself here, something that he wasn't able to do last weekend. Here comes Barros now, trying to get underneath Norrie Haga, and he does. Two former MotoGP men carving one another up here. And Haga won't take that line down. He has another look at going through the southern loop.
Yeah, this is a really difficult corner to get right. The camber's not perfect, he drops away, and also the second apex that you must make. And if you get out wide mid-corner, unless you've got a bike that steers and turns really, really well, it's difficult to make the second apex. I never like that corner.
Oh, Troy Corsa absolutely dragging the back end in.
Look at this cat fight. How many riders are there?
Robbie Rolfo tries to dip underneath Chris Walker, but without success. Rolfo 44, Pitt 88. And it's Regis Laconi who's getting in there in the mix as well. And look at this, is Lanzi in there?
I think...
no, Lanzi's not in there.
As well.
Lanzi's back in 19th place. Killy's in there as well. Steve Martin, Kageyama right on the back. 6 laps out of 22. Look at Stalker. And this is Barros now beginning to once again challenge Corsa, and Corsa right back with James Toseland. JT's best lap 133.15. Retired Sebastian Jambert continues his nightmare with Yamaha France. They've sorted out the braking problems he complained of last weekend in Doha by fitting some different discs, but it's not worked. Howling down the Doohan Straight, no, Gardner Straight even, into Doohan's Bend. And here comes Barros. He looks as if he's trying to get underneath for the southern loop, but he's not got the actual speed to carry through there. Yeah, the way to do that is to go through Doohan's, run it wide and then go up the inside into the southern loop, but he just didn't make it work there. And it's a scary move, is that? Well, not from where we're sat, but if you're sat on a bike, it is. This is the battle going on for second place. Toseland, Corsa, Barros and Haga. Barros on the team Claffey Honda. Look at those lap times of Troy Bayliss's. The fastest of all was a 132.402 that was just before that on lap 2. Haga's just lost a little momentum. He's drifted off the back of these three. Norrie Haga said that he really does want to become World Superbike champion, and at the age of 30 he feels that it's about time he went and did that, but he's going to have to do something this year.
Yeah, he is. And to be honest, you know that he's going to be quick, you know that he'll have a go, you know he's determined, but you just get that feeling, or I do, that it's probably never going to happen for him. But, you know, we like to see him having a try.
We certainly do. It should have happened for him in the year 2000.
He should have done, yeah.
He should have gone into Brands Hatch for what was the final round that year, 2 points behind Colin Edwards. That would have been an epic. But unfortunately, the FIM decided that wasn't what they wanted to see. Robbie Rolfo 7th, Chris Walker 8th, Andrew Pitt in 9th place. So Rolfo's made progress on the 999 F05, the factory bike from last year. And he's now through into 7th place, right behind as well, Carl Muggeridge.
Well, something to Lanzi after he's going a second quicker this morning.
Oh, Toseland drifts far too deep into the Honda hairpin.
Yeah.
And that's it. He's lost 2 places just like that, in a twinkling of an eye. Not the sort of mistake you really need to be making, but of course, look at the amount of talent and experience he's got right behind him.
Yeah, and how much pressure he was feeling as well.
Beautiful shot of them going through there. You can see the massive hay shed in the background as they went through hay sheds and then up. I can't believe how flat Lukey Heights looks on the telly. That is steep, and this drop down is steeper. Alex Barras, of course, 19 points, joint 5th in the championship table after round 1. And that was the mistake that Tosland made. He tried to recover in time to fend off Barras, but not quite able to make it in Siberia.
Barras looks good here.
Well, he'll remember this place well, because when he finally got onto a 4-stroke Honda off the 2-stroke 3 parts of the way through the 2002 season, this was one of the tracks that he almost won at. He got 4 races, 2 second place, 2 victories, and only just lost out to Valentino Rossi here. So it's a track he's going to be very familiar with. The Motorcycle Grand Prix, of course, returned to came for the first time to a revamped Phillip Island in 1988.
89, I think, Jack. Gardner won, I think. Don't quote me on it.
I wouldn't dare disagree. And a close to a 5-second advantage now for Troy Bayliss at the front. Meanwhile, look at this. This is, oh, Chris Walker being sat right up there by Muggers, and that allows Andrew Pitt to sneak through as well, and Stalker can't do much about that. And also in the mix is Ruben Zaus. Zaus has come through from an abysmal start. What an amazing ride by Ruben Zaus, the leggy Spaniard, of course, on the sterile Garda Ducati. Broke his leg in a motocrossing accident when he was mucking about training on his motocross bike 6 weeks ago. Here he is back in action far sooner than we expected. He's just managed to get the better of Walker as Walker was squeezed out. Quite
a nasty break as well, apparently, Jack, requiring a right tin full of screws and bolts and a lot of screwing back together.
You've had a bit of screwing back together in your time, haven't you?
I think most people who's race bikes for any length of time have got a few bits of metal about the person.
And do those bits of metal remain? In your case, have they remained, or do they get taken out?
Just 2 screws in my pelvis, that's all. The rest have been taken out. You're best getting them out if you can.
And do you ever feel anything like that?
No. Touch wood, no problem.
James Whittam taps his head. And we know, in fact, that that's not made of wood at all. It's something far more substantial. As we go into the Honda hairpin, the battle for second place rages on. Nori Haga is now tailed off a little bit in 5th. And in fact, if he's not careful, he might get sucked back into the morass, which is Rolfo, Muggeridge, Pitt, Zaus, Walker, Laconi, Keeley and Martin back to 13th. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be back with more action live from Phillip Island, Australia. Welcome back to Phillip Island. Look at this. Chris Walker dives underneath a surprised Carl Muggeridge.
Yeah, Stalker's just worked his way back to the front of that gaggle. This is a good race, this.
And he's got, I think it's Zaus and Rolfo, the 2 Ducatis ahead of him. And you get the feeling that this circuit is kind of slightly favours the Ducatis. They seem to enjoy themselves around here.
Yeah, they're really tractable and good mid-corner speed as well. They seem to be able to hold. It has always favoured Ducatis. Mind you saying that, a few years ago, every single circuit favoured Ducatis.
Andrew Pitt underneath Carl Muggeridge, and Muggeridge not having a very enjoyable time of it on what he could count as his home circuit, getting nudged back further as Bayliss continues to blitz the race at the front. 8 laps complete, a 5.76 second advantage over the battle between Corsa and Barras. Tosland 4th, Haga in 5th. Then the battle between them, we've got and we've lost Craig Jones, and
again.
That was the one thing that Fogarty didn't want. He said, let's see him get to the end of the race at least. And Jones was lying in 23rd place and doing all right. Oh, no. That was nasty. That was a weird fall.
It's really strange with that jab, because it didn't actually step out that far, then it sort of escalated into a big crash from next to nothing there.
And he was ahead of Franco Battaini, and that was who it was on the Kawasaki, but the Batoki Kawasaki, who just had to avoid the youngster then. So the 21-year-old Cheshireman goes down. It didn't look like it was going to develop into anything.
No, it started off as nothing, and then before you knew it, big crash.
So Jones is out as Bayliss disappears from sight over Lukey Heights, thoroughly enjoying himself on his return to World Superbikes and to Phillip Island, and the sunshine comes out and bathes him in warmth. Corsa 1, 4 Barras, 52 Toseland. Toseland hasn't recovered from that one mistake he made going into the Honda turn. His lap times, he's on a 1:34.038. He's lapping every bit as quick as Corsa and Barras, but there's just that little bit of gap between him and the Suzuki and Claffey Honda. Flashing past us now. Here they come into Duans. Norihaga's only just crossed the line. He's 11 seconds behind the leader now on the Santander Yamaha. Rolfo goes through, and Ruben Zaus is really threatening him. What a brilliant ride by Ruben. And then all of this lot cross the line together. Walker, Pitt, Muggeridge, Laconi, Martin, Killy, and Fonzo Nieto, and Lorenzo Lanzi, and even in the mix, Norik Abe in 16th place. So there's a huge gravy train. Here they all are.
Gravy train?
Well, they're all looking for points, I suppose. Look, Norik Abe's come through to get right on the back. He's in 16th place. Still suffering from the sort of chatter problems. One problem that Yamaha France very keen on emphasising is that they're running the 2005 engines. They haven't yet had the chance to develop and get sorted out the 2006 ones. So they're claiming to be a little bit down, about 13 kilometres per hour on top speed.
Is it me, or are they just making lots of excuses at the minute, Yamaha France? I shouldn't say that, but they just sort of seem to have a reason for everything at the minute, and they just seem to be coming out with quite a lot of excuses. It's a lot more competitive than it was. Well, yes, it is.
Lanzi's just speared his way past Killy and looks to be on, beginning to find the sort of lap times in traffic that he finally succeeded in producing during warm-up. And Killy, feeling a bit second-hand after a big crash last weekend, also loses out to Norik Abe down at MG Corner.
Well, at least they've got Killy's bike a fairing that's actually painted up now. In Super Bowl yesterday, the thing just had a sort of plain bare out-the-box fairing with no paint on it at all. Just a few stickers thrown at it.
There's a fair bit of experience going on here in the battle between these two guys. Troy Corsa, number 1, 34 years old. Alex Barras, number 4, 35 years old. Australia versus Brazil, with James Toseland sitting right in there behind them and lapping every bit as quick. Yeah,
James Toseland just seems to have got a little bit of a second wind in, and he's just catching. Oh, he doesn't have my. Why do I keep saying things about the poor lad? If I just keep quiet, he'd probably do all right.
And at that moment, it's amazing. That little sequence of moments has cost him just a few bike lengths.
Yeah, it's difficult to believe Barras is still only 35. He's been in MotoGP for forever.
Yeah, but he did the usual caper of starting out kind of underage.
80cc, I think 15 when he made GPs.
Look at Walker attacking Andrew Pitt here. So Pitt is in 8th place, Stalker number 9 in 9th place, and Ruben Zaus is closing down on Robbie Rolfo. Two guys, of course, who have a lot of experience of Phillip Island through their Grand Prix racing activities, as well, of course, as World Supersports and World Superbikes, with Ruben, who's been a former fastest lap merchant here in the World Supersports. And Barras, well, the Claffey Honda doesn't seem to quite have the horsepower to find a way past even drafting the Suzuki, but he's certainly giving everything he can to try and find another way through.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the speed of the Suzuki this year. It's a missile.
Walker, Laconi, Nieto for PSG1 Kawasaki align 9th, 10th and 11th, which is impressive and particularly delightful to us because Stalker's the fastest of the three. And at the moment, he's got a 9/10 of a second advantage over Regis Laconi. So Andrew Pitt and Chris Walker have just broken slightly away from that massive mid-pack. Are you expecting Barras to find a way through here, or do you think at the moment Corsa's cagey and he's got all the answers?
I think he does look to be having a little bit of a look, but I think he's just trying to put Corsa under pressure and then try and find a way back past the last couple of laps. I think he's already realised that he's not going to pull away from Corsa and just sitting in there in third and try and get second with a couple of laps to go, I think.
Alex Barras, of course, 8th in MotoGP last year. Finished just 3 points behind Sete Gibernau and won round 2 in Portugal. Finished third in unpleasant rain-lashed conditions at Donington Park.
His mid-corner speed is really good, especially on the fast stuff, Barros. It just seems to have a real good setup for mid-corner.
Passing us now, Pitt and Walker still locked together on Honda and Kawasaki. You can see the other two Kawasaki's just astern. And Ruben Zaus got the better of Roberto Rolfo as they went past. He just slipped past into 6th place. So a really outstanding ride from Ruben Zaus.
It is, but there is no question. When Zaus is on form and fit, which he isn't, he's a long way from fit. His leg's fairly bad. He is a brilliant rider. We know how well he can ride a bike.
Oh, great stuff. So there's lots of individual battles going on here, including this one between Fonzi Nieto and Regis Liconi, and Nieto just kind of prizes away past his teammate going through the Honda hairpin. But if Stalker can do anything about Andrew Pitt, I'm considering the form that Pitt showed a week ago in Losail. This is quite a ride by Walker.
It is, yeah, it is. What we've got to remember is, though, Chris is always complaining about sort of mid-distance on that he struggles to get anything from the tyre, really. It seems to that Kawasaki, just at the minute, they haven't got the setup that will conserve the tyre.
And once again, James Toseland has just lost a bit of ground to these two as they go past. 135.79 from a relatively cruising Bayliss. 134.1 from Corsa and Barras. 134.5 from Toseland. So for some reason, Troy Bayliss was about a second and a half slower than these fellas on that lap. Is he in trouble?
Well, I think he's been sort of watching his laps, his signal board and easing up for a few laps now, but he really doesn't need to be slowing down as much as that, and he's only...
Oh, Corsa, back that in, boy.
I tell you what,
Bayliss is coming back to them.
He is, and he must know that. He wouldn't, if he was trying to control this race from the front and watch his lap board, there's no way he'd let him get that close. No way. He's got to have a problem.
So Troy Bayliss, is there a problem from the Baylistic Troy Bayliss? He's at the front at the moment. He's dominated from the moment that the lights changed. But right now, the Suzuki and the Honda are bearing down on him.
I'm just wondering tyres. I'm just wondering what tyres he's put on it. The way he went from the start.
But Troy Corsa said we're all basically using the same tyres. We'll all basically have the same problem as the race unravels.
Well, they're not.
Oh, Muggers is out. Carl Muggeridge is out, and they're examining.
And they're looking at the tyre.
Sadly, looking at that rear tyre, there's a completely new set of tyres come out.
And look,
for this race, this is weird.
It is weird.
Oh, and now suddenly we're locked together, and Bayliss just gets drafted straight past by Troy Corsa. Here comes Barros, and Bayliss is suddenly relegated to 3rd place. What is going on?
We haven't seen anything of Bayliss because he's been out front. So we don't actually know what the bike looks like under him.
Certainly there's nothing in the body language to indicate that he's doing anything different. He's trying as ever Bayliss does, but Toseland is beginning to threaten him now as well. What's happened to the Ducati?
Tyres. I'd say rear tyre.
Now, do you think that might be the reason that we've lost Muggers? Because Muggers had certainly slipped well back down the pack.
That's what's making me think more than anything, because the first thing they did when they put it on the stand is start poking around at the back tyre and having a look.
So right now, Troy Corsa inherits an unexpected lead. Alex Barros is still right with him, as if he's lining up a possibility of getting past. Could it be that we've got a 7th Troy Corsa win here at Phillip Island? Barros will say not. Corsa Barros, Bayliss. Toseland is still fourth, but look at Toseland sideways across the hill at Lukey Heights, and he really has, he's sniffing his prey now. He's realised that Bayliss is in bother.
Yeah, sure, Bayliss, I am sure Bayliss isn't even going to finish on the rostrum. This is unbelievable from what was just 5 laps ago what was happening.
5 laps ago, the Bayliss was completely in control of this. He was absolutely unbothered, and he opened up a very considerable, very healthy gap at the front. Now the battle on for the lead then between Suzuki and Honda. Here comes Barros. Team Claffey Honda. They got their first rostrum finish here 12 months ago at Phillip Island. Could Barros go one better and stick them on the top deck of the podium?
I think he could, Jack. I really think he could. But we know how deep Corsa will dig. He wants to win. And over the last couple of 3 years, we've seen how hard he'll race. And
Toseland,
yeah,
already through the third place.
You knew that was going to happen, Jack. Whatever problem Bayliss has got, it ain't going to fix himself just because Toseland's behind him.
So right now we've got the reigning world champion leading Alex Barros, third place for the 2004 world champion, fourth place now for the 2001 world superbike champion. Norrie Hagerfit, Ruben Zaus, a really spectacular, riveting fifth place, sixth place ahead of Robbie Rolfo. Andrew Pitt is still a fraction of second ahead now of Fonzie Nieto, who got the better of Chris Walker on the last lap.
And Bayliss is dropping 2 seconds a lap to about 3 or 4 people who's behind him. He's not even safe in fourth.
Because there are 4 laps to go. So whatever's plaguing Troy Bayliss, it's going to be quite a proposition for the man from Taree and now, of course, Monte Carlo to find his way to the finish line. Oh, isn't it great when those rear tyres begin to loosen up?
Oh yeah. Not as much as when they loosen up as well, like Bayliss has got. Because I am sure, Jack, that's what the problem is.
Across the line now. 19 laps out of 22 complete. 3 to go. Troy Corsa, Alex Barros. Vast amount of experience hitting and bouncing off one another here. The 34-year-old reigning world champion against the 35-year-old 7-time world motorcycle Grand Prix race winner.
Go on then, Jack. Who's your money on? Come on.
I think Corsa.
Yeah, me too. I think he'll just work hard and he wants to win it just a little bit more than Barros will.
But I know how good we are at this because I asked you the same question at this point in the race at Doha, the second race a week ago, and we both plumped for Bayliss.
Yeah, we're always wrong, me and you.
Oh, guaranteed wrong. By the way, Martin's 13th, Killy 14th, Kageyama 15th, involved in a huge dust-up with Norik Arbe for the final point.
Bayliss 37.6 that lap.
Oh dear. But it's actually, Hager's only doing 35.5s and 34.7 for Zaus. So in fact,
that's only 6 seconds they're going to make up, and that's all they got. That's all he's got.
Robbie Rolfo actually made his way back past Ruben Zaus on that lap. So the fully fit Robbie Rolfo, the Italian, gets back past the Spaniard. Oh, Corsa! Well, we know that Corsa's brilliant at riding around things like wasted tyres. He had to do it in the closing stages of the second race last weekend. He's certainly having to do it again now.
Well, he might just prove us wrong again if he keeps doing that. Barros does look like he's got a little bit more tyre left than me. He's sat he's sat behind Corsa the whole race, and that sometimes allows a rider just to conserve that little bit of tyre.
Behind these guys, Toseland goes through 4.6 seconds in arrears. 9 seconds back is Bayliss, but he's still got a pretty healthy margin over.
Only 4 seconds.
Only 4 seconds, but that Hager's not going that quick. Hager's only going about a second quicker per lap. So really,
2 seconds a lap, 37.8 and 35.7.
Sorry, 2 seconds a lap quicker. You're right.
That's close.
It's going to get very tight between Hager and Bayliss. At the front, we've still got this battle royal being waged for victory. Corsa, number 4, Alex Barros. Who's it to be? 4,600 Pirelli tyres were brought over. They were all different compounds to those that were used at Losail. Softer compound tyres because of the way that tyres wear, or rather don't wear too badly here at Phillip Island, but we've had a tradition of tyres getting wasted at Phillip Island. Remember Frankie Killy in 98 or 99 suffering terrible rear tyre chunking problems when he was in the lead on the Ducati.
Yeah, that's happened a few times, Jack, over the years. It has been quite a hard circuit on tyres over the years. There's been a few incidents, especially once it dried out and everyone was on wets, and everybody had tyres that fell completely to pieces.
Troy Corser still holds on to the lead. How long has he led for? Oh, and remember, James Tozer only got the lead on the final lap, but it was the only one that mattered a week ago, and it is the only one that matters.
Always has been.
Always has been. When you see the checkered flag, Bayliss, Haga, watch the gap now as they go across past us, and Bayliss, Haga, 2 seconds.
Less than 2 seconds. Less than 2 seconds, and he's down into 38 now, is Bayliss.
So Bayliss is going slower and slower all the time, but amazingly hanging on.
I think Haga's going to get 4th here, myself.
The final lap. Final lap now, Corser versus Alex Barros. This is the one, this is it. Can Alex Barros secure his first World Superbike win in his first season in World Supers? Can Troy Corser secure his 7th victory here at Phillip Island?
He's either got to do it going up over Lukey Heights and down into MG, or try and draft him over the line. That's the only, and I can't see him drafting him over the line because the Suzuki is so quick.
32 wins in his World Superbike career, Troy Corser. And here we come down into MG corner. Barros looks right and then left. Oh, he's gone right round the outside and cuts back in.
Beautiful by Corser, just defended that line absolutely perfectly.
And are we going to see a 20th Australian victory in World Superbikes here at Phillip Island?
I think we are.
Into turn 12, Troy Corser, Alex Barros. And Corser amazingly might just have the steam, he might just have the tyres, he might just have the motivation and determination. He's done it. Troy Corser wins his 7th race victory here, and it means a lot to him. Well, third place, Tosland.
Let's see if Bayliss got 4th, because I don't think he will have done.
Coming towards us now, and here comes Robbie Rolfo, who has been sneaking up on the guys in front, and Haga crosses the line. Rolfo just gets Bayliss, so Bayliss gets squeezed back to 6th place. Rubens out 7th, 8th Nieto, a great ride by him, and he's just pipped Andrew Pitt on the Santander Italia R1. Chris Walker 10th, 11th Lanzi, 12th Kagayama, a great last lap by him ahead of Laconi, Martin, Fabrizio Killy, and Norik Arbe really messed up and dropped back to 17th place ahead of Max Neukirchner. And that was neat, wasn't it? Nori Haga just checks. You won it then.
Yeah, you couldn't see from where he ended up.
But Nori's probably thinking, well, that's defended World Superbike honour.
Yeah, true, yeah. I think the story here will be tyres. I'm sure, Jack, I'm convinced.
But how class is Corser at riding on wasted tyres and make it... Look at Bayliss looking down at the rear end of his bike.
Yeah, I mean, Bayliss, you would have money on holding something together when something's going wrong, as well as Corser. I would have thought that the problem that Bayliss had must be a really, really severe rear tyre problem.
And there's Stalker checking with Corser that he won that one, and Corser just gives him a little nod and a thumb up and a massive grin.
And then a big wheelie.
Troy Corser wins the first race here at Phillip Island from Alex Barros. James Tosland is on the rostrum again in 3rd. 4th Nori Haga, 5th Robbie Rolfo, and 6th place a mystified Troy Bayliss. Ruben Zaus, what a colossal ride for him on the F05 Ducati. So Ducati's 5th, 6th and 7th. Nieto 8th, 9th Pitt, 10th Walker.